We're on. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's February 26th, 2020, and it's 7:30 p.m. This is the Township Committee Public Session. We're all stand. Oh, sorry.
This meeting has been posted and is being recorded. Committeewoman Arcola? Here. Committeewoman Bonifay? Here. Committeeman Casimir?
Here.
Committeeman Bosher?
Here.
Mayor Lofty?
Here. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We can just have a moment of silence for our men and women serving us around the country. Thank you. Approval of the agenda, I'd like to make a couple of changes, please. If we could move parking Lexington Ave to the work session on the 11th. Also, we need to take off the veteran flag friendly municipality. And also the Rochelle Park ambulance corps. Sorry, Rochelle, and also the Rochelle Park ambulance corps, veteran friendly municipality is off as well. Any other changes?
Yes, can we pull off of consent 2020 60, 61, 68, and 71?
Can you give me those numbers?
61.
60, 61, 68, and 71.
71 is not on.
Okay, yes, it is.
Not on consent, but.
It's asterisk is considered in consent.
Maybe you have.
Oh, yeah, they're giving over.
That's okay.
That's okay, we got it. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we shouldn't be long. We have a personnel discussion. We'll be out shortly. Sorry about that.
I went late.
I went early.
Hello, how are you? I thought maybe I just get a slight adjustment.
You get a notary? Yeah. Oh, hi, how are you?
Experience was how long? 60 Lexington cars. It's on. It's on. Authentic? Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you got one of the
See ya. You gotta come this side. Let us hold it better.
I did.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely bring it up. Oh, this is, oh, wow. Yeah, the mayor. That doesn't solve the problem that I'm having on it. Because their office opens up.
And you have to read that for
It's been the message yes. I got pictures of it. It's wide open, and there's still parking 5,000 to 7,000 for the and that's why I think the administrator mentioned that's what we can do. Residents, 2 hours. They mentioned that's it. Okay. So that.
How are you?
Actually, it's a, this costs me $5. They come to town at 8:30. I love it from my house. And they're there till 5, 6 o'clock. Tuesdays and Thursdays it works. Tuesday and Thursday, they come out around 8:30 and they're there until 7. Well, no, it's this office, it's the dentist office that's abusing it because it's all fiber. You see, they all get out the same, out the time. The woman, she's like, you can see, she just does everything. And I think they may have said something when your son was, business owners of no vacation, stating that, because we stopped for a week. See those spots? More spots. Alright, then they'll come. At least 5 or 7.
So.
Right before the house. And it's only that cluster that's right there in that area. So my neighbor was getting his roof done. And the cluster tried to get up. And couldn't, because they're probably. So before he wrecked my car, I had to move my car, so he has. Yeah, why am I allowing that to park on the street? $10 to $12 a day. And I came here, I want to get a generator done. I'm worried about it getting rid of that. I was hoping this would work. I just don't know. It's quickly. I'll tell let you have it.
I know.
Now you gotta finish it.
No, I know.
Both side streets are flooded. And I think a lot of taking up like the gas stations. There's a lot of airports. And then on the other side, is the whole medical. We didn't have to sign it 2 hours. My house, less. I wrote down. It's automatic. Parking is in the house. Because I have a driveway. But it's just a matter of, I know.
No, we don't do it travel. Just like the fact that it's, don't play it, but don't know what it is, how this is,
Yeah, yeah.
You'll figure it out. Yeah.
They need to get more cars in.
I'm all right. I was like there.
That's right. When I was a police officer, in Hoboken, you don't have people bring that walking around. Right, I was 675, I wanted to have some consideration. Absolutely. It's good though. Now, they don't really mind if you call. You look great.
I was just gonna say to you.
I was walking the dog. They all still live in town? Oh, yes.
Boy, that was great.
Without looking on here, that's why. I gotta just sit away. I did two big weddings. I had no
That's my answer.
We'll send them out, okay? Can I have a motion to come out of close, please? Second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're out of closed session. Do we have a motion to open it up to the public for agenda items only? So. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any questions from the public based on the agenda items? Please.
Good evening, for sure, one of us told us. So there is a property maintenance report. Is he still working for the town? I just noticed there's a lot of not upkeep throughout the town, garbage out on long days, garbage out weeks at a time. I know the resident brought couches over front lawn for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I
Yes.
was wondering if that is updated.
No, he's still working for the town, and we do have the report on file. You can come.
And how many hours does he work?
I think it's 6.
It's 6. I mean, is that enough hours to cover the town?
1 second. Chris. I don't have the report in front of me. We do have it though, it's printed out.
You know, for his hours, dictated like his schedule outside of Russell Park, or is that just the amount that the town's giving him right now?
No, I think we have a cap on the amount, right?
Correct. So I think we was originally like 5 hours a week.
Just to say the town looks a little shabby, so it might be something to consider, especially with fire prevention gets so many hours.
What part of the town do you consider looking shabby?
I mean, all the streets I drive on.
All the streets they drive on?
I mean, I noticed garbage out, recycling out, neighbors of mine had cardboard out for a week and a half. I did tell them about it afterward, but it wasn't taken in. You know, garbage cans in the middle of the street. The resident complained about a couch that was on like a side of a property. So I just think there's things that people miss, that if they're not getting enough hours, they're not hitting all enough streets. So things get through the cracks.
If there are concerns, you can always reach out to the police department and let them know, or reach out to the building department as well. And they will get out there to handle any of these oversights that may exist. Certainly expanding hours could be a potential solution for some of these things. I know the town has a fair amount of roads, so it would be pretty much impossible to cover the entire
I think it was
town.
like 18 miles of road.
Yeah, it's
That
a
sounds.
significant amount, and if you're going slow enough to see all of the, the problems and the maintenance issues, by the time you're writing a ticket on, 6 hours a week, it is, it's not a significant enough time. So expanding the amount of hours could potentially be a solution for some of these issues. But we do ask that your, help is, assist us in making sure that some of the things that might not get picked up right away, if there's something that you can do, just reach out, and I'm sure your neighbors would be willing to participate in keeping the town.
Absolutely. You can also call the building department and let Anne Marie know. And if we start to see trends, then we can address less the hour.
Yes, and I know there was an issue over the last week that the building department was made aware of, and they were taking care of it.
There's much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please.
Diane Hassel, 40 bars. I noticed on here, it talks about you're going to be introducing an ordinance on the pilot program.
Mhm.
Is that an ordinance to accept it, or?
Nope, it's just for introduction. We'll have a public hearing on the 22nd.
The public hearing will be the second meeting in March,
So
The
your normal
25th. I'm sorry,
Your regular meeting?
the regular
the
meeting,
regular
right?
meeting, yeah.
Like last time, 6 o'clock-ish?
No, I think it'll be just a regular
Regular meeting.
7:30.
Oh, okay, so if people have concerns, they
That's
should.
when you'll be able to address them.
Okay, then I'll focus on that, thank you.
Thank you. All right. I have a motion to close public portion.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Mr. Kelly, want to give you a report, please? Thanks for coming in.
Oh, no problem. Good evening. I have one item that I just want to discuss, which I will pass out. It's just a quick sketch we prepared for discussion for the 2020 Bergen County Open Space Grant application. So there's just there's one project that was considered, and there's two options. I just want to review those options with the mayor and township committee. And if you'd like, we could start with that. So I've handed out a sketch of a potential project for the 2020 Bergen County Open Space Grant application. This is the Carlock Field. It's an ADA accessibility project where what you'll see is at the kind of diagonally towards the bottom of the page, you have Chestnut Street, and you see in white there the bleachers that we had recently installed. Those are ADA accessible bleachers. And what we've done is I reviewed with administration on one potential project where there's two options. You'll see in the green, what we can do is extend a handicap ramp from the existing sidewalk into the park. And due to the grades, you do have to have a turn there. And then it'll get to the white section, which would be basically the level section into the park. So you'd basically be linking the two areas of the park for ADA accessibility. And then you have the blue section, which is a lot steeper in that area. So you see all the number of switchbacks to meet the required slopes and rest areas. And so the Bergen County Open Space Grants are, I think the letter of intent is due April 3rd, somewhere around that time. And then the official grant application has to be submitted by, I think, May 16th or some, those are roughly the dates. And so just, the administrator and I just want to review this with you tonight to see which option the township committee would like to proceed with, if there's a project that you'd like to proceed with at all. There's a cost associated with each of these. The cost for the, I'll call it the green route, going from the sidewalk down into the park, including all soft costs, is probably about $120,000. The blue route is about double that, 240. Now, the grants that are available, I'm not sure what the amount of the grant we got last year was.
Yeah, it was around 50,000.
Okay, so I think they did award some grants up to, I know one municipality got 85,000. So there's more in the pot now than there used to be. So, and it's a matching grant. So, if you were to go with the green route, theoretically, hopefully we'd get 60,000 for that, and then it'd be a match of 60,000 by the municipality. Or if we went with the blue route, it'd be, we would apply for 120,000. I'm not sure if we would get 120. I would imagine that we'd probably get maybe 80 to 90, but then we would have to fund the balance of that. So really just wanted to get the temperature of the governing body to find out which option you guys would prefer.
Well, actually, if I may, quite honestly, what I'd like to be able to do is, I want to make sure that the town is okay with moving forward with this type of a project, whether it be A or B. Because what I can do is when I submit the application, I can put it in for both. Once we see how much money we actually get, then we can make a determination as to how much, which project we would go lean towards as far as that's concerned. But this is more of an idea, just to see, as long as the township committee is okay with this particular project, I can go ahead and move forward. But if not, then I need other suggestions, what you may want to have done. That's really what I need right now.
Besides this, does anyone of you have any other suggestions?
Sure. Okay. So let me just walk through this, and if I'm missing something, please let me know. If we do the green route with the number 5, which is the ramp or the walkway along the top of the wall,
Yes.
is there any connection to the seating area that is over on the Chestnut side of this park?
Yes, it would be by the sidewalk along Chestnut Street.
So there's nothing to continue to essentially along the top of the wall to the right below the seating area?
No, not for that route, no.
Okay.
But you do have access, I'm sorry, excuse me, but you do have immediate access to the ADA area from the level of the sidewalk.
Right, but now I'm thinking about somebody who is coming from the entrance by Houghton Hall. They come in and they're trying to get to the handicap accessible seating area, which is up at the top of the hill. So now they have to come all the way through the walkway and then up this ramp up to the top of Chestnut,
Right.
up the hill to the seating area, and that's how they're getting from the handicap parking over to this area. If we just, the original concept that I had expressed was essentially just putting a walkway that's accessible from Houghton Hall area across the top of the wall, and then continuing across the top of the wall to the to the front of where the current seating section is, and make a viewing platform there that might be easily accessible at that location. I'm not saying that we have to get rid of the green, but the green and the blue seem to be the most expensive part of this whole project.
But the elevations, you're talking about going along the wall. Do you know how the elevations are over at the seating area? They're steep.
Oh, I'm not saying that we're going up to the seating area. I'm just saying that if we're creating a pathway for people to view what's happening on the field, we just connect it to the lower part and we eliminate the hills. Or we still do the green section that connects to that area, just in case somebody wants to go up to Chestnut, but still have it connect to the seating area where we just put that in.
No, aren't we required, if we're going to do something like that, it has to be ADA accessible?
It has to meet the ADA
Right, we
design
just can't put a walkway up there, it has to be ADA.
Yes.
So that's the whole issue. One way or the other, it has to be.
Oh, I understand what the issue is. It's just that we're creating essentially a passageway that provides no viewing experience for anyone who needs it. And if we continue this pathway all the way to where the viewing area is for other people, we can have all people view from that area. And it wouldn't be an engineering feat, to do that. I don't think the grade on the top of the wall, right along that edge is that significantly.
Well, no, Mike said that white is pretty much a flat area.
But it also gives handicap accessible from Chestnut, instead of a handicapped person having to go all the way to Theme to get in.
Right.
Because the only thing by the bleachers is steps leading down. So I thought we discussed that when we were out there.
But continue this number 5 pathway along the top of the wall to just below where we just put the new bleachers in. And now people that park in the handicap parking that is by Houghton Hall can actually come to this side without going up and around and through. We can still put the ramp that comes down from Chestnut. I have no objection to that. I'm just saying that, yeah, let's just say more user friendly.
So are you looking to put more seating, do I understand you correctly, or my?
I think he's looking to carry one all
Just
the
have
way
a
down.
sidewalk.
Like a pad, a viewing pad. It wouldn't be tiered, it would just be a flat pad that people can access, and if they, have their own chair, they use their own chair, but they can participate in something that makes a little bit more sense.
You could do that, it just, if I'm understanding you correctly, so it wouldn't have a direct connect between the new bleachers and theme, unless we did the green section as well.
Because I thought that's what the original conversation was, that we
Yes.
were trying to get, so the people from the viewing stand could get to, that's what I thought the original plan was, so.
That is perfectly fine. I'm okay with the connection from the top part of the viewing area to Houghton Hall. But I think we're missing an opportunity. If we're building something, why not build something that actually makes this whole facility better and allow for a connection between Houghton Hall and the bleachers over here, not for handicap accessibility to the top of the bleachers, what we just put in, but at the bottom of the bleachers, and a passageway for people who are walking as well to go through there.
All right, so you're saying, so, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure. So we keep the green and the white, or we carry the white a little bit further towards that number
Almost to
three?
the dugout.
Yeah, to the dugout.
Right.
We could actually connect it to the stairs that go down from Chestnut.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
So
connected
you
to
could
the
have, you
stairs.
could have a pad over by the dugout, and
Yes.
then extend the sidewalk over to the existing stairs there, so you do have kind of an interconnect there. That would not be handicap accessible, obviously, the stairs, but the remaining portion would be.
Right, so it still does give you the access for the, for ADA purposes, but it also gives you the opportunity to utilize more of the area. I
Almost
understand
like,
what you're saying.
almost like a hybrid.
it's a better project, and I don't think, I'm not an engineer, but I don't think that adds significant costs as far as grading and walls and, so it might,
So
but
it's,
but
so
we
we
should,
still
we
keep it
should.
connected to the bleachers up top?
Definitely with the green path.
Yeah, with the green card.
Definitely. That's
I'm
what
not
we
sure it's
discussed.
even there.
No, you're
No,
the
eliminating
blue is no-
card.
Blue doesn't make sense, it's too expensive.
I mean, I think the simple fact, as a wheelchair user, I want to be able to get everywhere, but it's just not always feasible, and I don't think that we should be spending an inordinate amount of money.
I
The
would have,
platform's accessible, I think that white sidewalk behind that part, number 5 there, would give me personally more access to view the field, which I would appreciate. And I guess the question is to connect it to Theme at that point with the green line, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would have to do the numbers, but I imagine that you have the green at 120, you have the blue at 240. I think what we're talking about is kind of gonna be in the middle of that. It'll probably be like 180-ish, but I'd have to do the numbers, but you're probably looking at 180. I'd be hopeful.
So let's submit it as that,
Yeah.
with that plan. And then we'll see where the money's coming from the county.
This was the same as last year, we did it around, we filed to the April, and we got it, and we started with in August or something. right?
No, this
Was that the year
Was
before?
the year before, they're always a year behind.
Yeah. All right.
All right, good.
I'd like you to include the area by Houghton Hall, the paving. It slopes in all directions approaching Houghton Hall, but I know we're looking at more money, and maybe that'll be a phase 2 of this project.
That would make sense.
Yeah, the problem over there, quite honestly, is the runoff.
Yeah, you could argue that that's an accessibility issue, I mean,
Sure.
it's deep on there, so.
That would have to be a whole different project.
Good. All right, well, I appreciate everybody's time in reviewing this with us. All right, so to our February 24th report, we have ROP 101, that's the Rochelle Ave and Railroad Ave intersection project. We're still waiting on the county. I know that the administrator has reached out to them. and has received a response. Their response was basically that they have to have the plan reviewed by their railroad consultant with respect to signal timing and different aspects of the project. They used to have a in-house railroad consultant. That person no longer works for them, so now they have to hire a outside railroad consultant, which is expected to be approved at the March 4th meeting, freeholders meeting. You know, I know I'm frustrated with this project. You know, we've asked the county for schedules, and we don't get schedules. We get responses, but nothing. They don't respond to what we're asking for. We want a detailed schedule of when this project's when we're gonna get the striping plan from them, and they continue to tell us that, you know, it's being reviewed, and then they'll get it to us. Now they gotta have the railroad consultant hired and look at it, then they'll provide us with the signage and striping information. And then it's gonna require a diagnostic meeting with the railroad company again. So, you know, it's a continuous delay, I view, from the county end. And I know that, you know, I can tell you that we're pushing it as hard as we can. I know the administrator is pushing as hard as he can as well. And it's a frustration. I'm still hopeful that we can get out to bid by the end of this year, but you know, if we don't get this from the county, I mean, it's a county project, or we're really, you know, waiting on them. And, you know, I know the town's frustrated with this, as am I. For ROP 102, that's the Sprout Brook stream cleaning. We asked for the 200-foot list from the township yesterday, and we got it today. We expect that to go out tomorrow. Matthews Field, so ROP 110, that's the Matthews Field ADA bleacher improvement project. We've provided, that's a former or a previous Bergen County open space grant. We've provided the township with our design and inspection proposal, and we're ready to proceed on that. For ROP 138, that's the redevelopment project across the street. We did finally get the sewer video from Northwest Bergen. We've reviewed it. We expect to have our report done by the end of this week. We did find some issues with the sanitary sewer line in Verdun. And in our report, we're going to detail what those issues were and what it would take to fix those issues. One of them is there's a jog at the end of I think actually where it comes down to Chestnut, makes a 90 to, I think, get around some houses there. I think that's causing a hydraulic situation where it's backing up the flow into Verdun. There's some other issues that we noted. So all that will be in the detailed report that you guys will get on Friday. And it'll have, and I think some of these items, without tipping our hand, you know, we can go after the developer for funds to fix some of these issues. I think the good thing is that, you know, we know that, or we're familiar, or we know that there's an issue with the sanitary sewer in Verdun, and I'm hopeful that, you know, our report will detail, you know, how to fix some of those issues. So I think we're making positive headway on that project. For ROP 163, that's the 2020 road curb and sidewalk program. We're on schedule for that. The project is being wrapped up in the design phase. It does have to go to DOT for their review. We expect that to be submitted to them by Friday. It may actually go out tomorrow. We reviewed ROP 170 just before, and then ROP 171, the revaluation and the digitizing of the tax maps. We reviewed that with administration. As part of the revaluation process, you do have to submit your tax maps to the Division of Taxation for New Jersey. There's different theories on the best way to handle that. You could digitize the tax maps now, send those down, and then, you know, the state will have whatever comments they have on it, aside from just, you know, transferring to the digital format. Or you submit to them the current maps, let them make their comments, and then while you're digitizing them, you address all their comments at the same time. And then that's what we recommend. This way, you know, we have a detailed, itemized list of what has to be done, and it can all be addressed at once. And this way, you're not, you know, wasting time sending it down to them, getting it back, sending it down, see if they have other comments. So we feel like that's the best way to handle it.
And just so you're aware, Mr. Kelly, myself, and Jamie Ty, we had a conversation today specifically about that because he needs to start getting the application into the county as well, so.
And then the only other item I'd like to report on is with respect to a representation at the planning and zoning boards. I think we have an opportunity to better serve the township. I plan on bringing in somebody from our office to assist me with those reviews and handling the boards. He is he's a seasoned engineer. I would have brought him tonight, but he's an adjunct professor down at NJIT for engineering. He works for our company. He's the head of our drainage department, our hydrology department. His name is John Mayo. And the way I think it would make sense is so you have consistency with the boards. He would work under me, he would report to me, and I would review all his reports. But he would serve as our representative at the planning board and zoning board. Review this with both the mayor and both chairmen, and they're comfortable with this. And I don't think that I don't think there's a downside to this. He's a very good engineer. As I mentioned to the mayor, I take all my clients very, very seriously, and I think there's an opportunity to better serve the township. And I wouldn't be recommending this if I felt otherwise. So I just wanted to bring that to the governing body's attention.
Any questions for Mr. Kelly? Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
Did you have a question, Mark?
Is there a FEMA grant for, I guess you're securing infrastructure, I think our pump station is kind of partially in the floodplain. Is there a hazardous mitigation grant or something to?
Occasionally there
secure
are.
those?
Occasionally there are. I'm not sure if there's any out there right now. We know there were a few years ago, where municipalities were able to get funding for generators and things like that as part of their hazard mitigation plans. But I'm not aware of any currently.
And I can answer this, I actually had a conversation with somebody from FEMA, and that's not available. Because I already asked about it.
We represent a number of municipalities, and we're constantly looking out for ways to get funding for them. So whenever we hear of anything, we'll bring it to your guys' attention.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? The public has any questions? The engineer? Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Yes, you too.
It's my wife's birthday. She'll be happy right now.
Take home flowers.
Mayor, can I just make a suggestion?
Yes.
This project for Railroad and Marshall Ave has been on the books since 2014. I'm asking every member of this committee to write the freeholders this weekend so it gets to them by March the 4th, so that request that this project gets done.
We thought about going to a meeting.
How about let's just do a resolution tonight that encourages the freehold board to act on behalf of this project and make sure that this moves along. I think that would be fine, and then we can send a copy of that resolution to the freehold board. So it's an official action of the township committee, encouraging them to get this project underway.
I still will email them myself.
Sure, but
Yeah, I mean, we can do it tonight.
Anybody in
I'll
town,
just put it in writing.
send an
so
email to the
Something
freeholders.
certified, but.
Help us get this project through.
So I'll make that motion to authorize a resolution that encourages Bergen County Board of Chosen Freeholders to act upon this project that has been stalled for a number of years.
Encourages or urges?
What's that?
Encourages or urges?
Urges.
Thank you.
And I'm sure Mr. Rotolo will make
Yeah.
it.
Do we know when this was started? The year?
2014.
So you should get that and put it in there, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's even longer.
Well,
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff.
yes, and
I'll do that.
And we were inches away from getting this project done. And then we had the Big Dig, which was a project that, I mean, we were probably a week, maybe two, getting done. And they did that big dig along Rochelle Ave, which was the, energy,
Yes.
gas and energy strong, the spine line, enhancement to encourage our lights to stay on, which is a big project, but
So you make the resolution, you make the motion, can I have a second?
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
I think that'll be very helpful, and you may want to include in there that we're hopeful that we can be out to bid and into construction this year.
Yeah.
I accept that.
Thanks, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have our budget presentation. For the past several weeks, Committeeman Casimir and myself have been working with the CFO, Roy Fergitano, and the auditor, Andrew Parente, as well as Bob Davidson, the Township Administrator. The budget that they're going to present you reflects our commitment to keeping municipal taxes low as possible, while still maintaining the full complement of services. In order to get to the number that I felt was reasonable, we scrutinized each line item. No boy's going to go through that. Ultimately, we asked the Township Administrator to cut 2.5% across all departments. I know this isn't a popular decision, as is evident by emails that I've received from several departments, but I felt it was something that needed to be done. As taxpayers, we understand the concept of budgeting. When times get tough, you cut back. This is what I believe we have to do. So I'd like to ask Roy and Andrew to present to the Township Committee. This is for the committee.
So procedurally speaking, this is basically discussion with the Township Committee and only the Township Committee. Upon introduction, that will also be done through the formal process of meeting here.
We'll do that on the 25th of March.
And then in April, that's where the public will have their say, if they like the budget, they don't like the budget, they can make their approvals at that time. That is in code. Basically, the timeline is on time for us here. So with that said, I start off with the annual debt statement. The annual debt for the borough, for the township, is at 1.143%. You're allowed 3.5%. So 1.1 is absolutely in line with where we should be for the total debt that the township has outstanding. It was favorable with Moody's when we did our general series bond 2 years ago, and I see no issues with that. The annual debt statement was prepared through my general ledger, and then Andrew, the RMA, presenting and creating the AFS. He'll give you some details on that as we go forward. The revenue stream continues to be the choking factor of Rochelle Park. Nothing has changed from last year to this year. The town is functioning as best it can, but as you know, the surplus was down a little bit from last year to this year for one direct reason, and that was your tax appeals. They're choking out the township of Rochelle Park. Hopefully, I spoke with Jamie Tide today. There are no large tax appeals in the pipeline to his knowledge. When I say in the pipeline, meaning imminent, there's no stipulations out there as of today. Can that change? Of course it can. Let's hope it doesn't. The construction, we're starting to see some movement in construction, as we evidenced with the building permits. That's going to be the saving grace for next year's budget. Unlike last year, we're not going to estimate any ratables coming in. As your CFO, we did last year, and they did not come on board. So I'm not comfortable signing, nor should you be signing any ratables unless they're on the books, which would be October 1st. Let's hope that happens. If that happens, we're good to go for next year on the revenue stream. With that, I was instructed through Bob Davidson and the Finance Committee to cut the budget as best we can and yet keep the full-time equivalents equal to as last year. So you're going to see some drastic numbers reduced
specifically overtime numbers now, through the administrator, has basically slashed all the overtime. I believe it's got to go through the police chief and Bob, there is overtime. The snow removal, now, as we go into March, I feel as your CFO much more comfortable with the reductions in the OE with the DPW. As you know, it's almost like it's a crapshoot as to what the weather's gonna be. But as we go now into March, it should be better for us. And it's a ripple effect between gas, overtime, pothole repairs, infrastructure of breaks, whether it be a sewer break or water break. Obviously, they're all minimal, and that's reflected in the budget also. So as we go through the budget, again, the revenues are maximized. So unless someone has a question, specifically on revenue, I can answer it now. You can call me. You'll see the big number that was reduced is the surplus number. That was reduced by $100,000.
Why is that, Roy?
What we did was basically because we cut the operating expenses to the bare bone. That's how we were able to do that, Councilman. And with that said.
I don't think 2.5% is to the bare bones, but,
The cut?
yeah, 2.5%.
That was on the operating expense side, not the salaries.
Correct.
Very good.
Salaries are mostly contractual. I understand that. We're obligated to them. But I'm
Right.
talking about operating expenses, 2.5%. That's nothing.
Are you calling for a larger?
Yeah, yeah, in certain departments, yes.
Well, we haven't introduced it yet, so we have some time to make the suggestions.
Okay.
And then we can incorporate if that's.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to select programs and departments. If we're going to do it, let's just do it.
No, we're gonna select them.
You were gonna?
I'll show you my proof. That's what I'll say to you.
We'll talk about it.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, so the salary wages are contractual. Unless you have a specific about an individual or a position, that has to go back into closed session. And that person has to be right. So this is a global presentation. So in the salary and wages, again, unless you have a specific, please ask me, I'll answer it. It's the operating expense I was told to cut, we did. So the salary wages for the general government went from 30,000 to 29,200. The committee itself stayed at $25,000 on salary from there. Again, I'm not going to repeat myself. The only line items are cut. You can see them there. Where there's an increase, I'll explain some of those. The computer data processing is up $4,000. Have no choice with the hacking that went on. That was one line item that I don't feel you should cut. If the committee wants to cut it, go ahead. But let me explain. If you do the cuts and you're short, we all pay in November when there's a special emergency that's got to be done. A special emergency is where if you are short in the budget, specifically as a totality of this budget, you must next year raise that deficit first and then taxation second. You get penalized. The township gets penalized if you're short big monies in the budget. Right now, you are not. I will sign this document right now the way it is. If you continue to cut and cut and cut, and you're purposely, and I'll make my comments publicly, if you have something that you want to cut, and I, as your CFO, and I see it's fit, do so. But like the computer system, we have to put some money in there for the protection of everyone here.
Just so we're all aware, and we're all on the same page, we're on sheet 13, correct? Okay,
I'm trying to go in the same order.
so, okay.
Okay. As we continue going down, you see a large cut in taxation administration, the tax appeals. We went from 70 to 50. So that $20,000 I'm comfortable with because we don't have any stipulations at this moment and it's now March.
I also spoke to Jamie Tide, again, your tax assessor. He's the first line of our defense. And he was very, he's comfortable with that. So with that, we made that cut. Group insurance, you're gonna see a large reduction. The reason for the large reduction is, first of all, the group insurance went up minimally, it was less than 1%. But more importantly, you have people retiring this year of large values where they are family members of the insurance policy. Because of that, they are going to be transferred to the state pension system sometime during the year. As a result, just 2 people alone is $60,000 net savings. We also did, there were also some individuals who went from family to spouse, which means that the children were over 26 years of age, so they came off the policy. So we were able to reduce the group insurance. The rest of the insurances went up, and that's a direct bill given to the township from the joint insurance fund. You have no say on that as far as operating. Your liability insurance, your workers' compensation, unemployment, and other insurance premiums all went up, and strike that on the unemployment, we left the same 30,000. And the reason you have unemployment is because if you have an individual that lose their position on a volunteer basis, we're responsible for some of those unemployment costs. It's state statute. We could talk all night about it. It's been challenged, and the employee has won in New Jersey as far as volunteers, as far as unemployment is concerned. The police, you're going to see there, same number, and that is because those 2 individuals right now are retired. There are large sums, and that those 2 sums going off our books will be paid their compensation contractually through the accumulated fund we set up 2 years ago. So that's why you can see, that's how you can see the number there remains the same. The steps are also embedded in that number as well. So there is enough money there. Dispatchers, you're going to see a almost $30,000 cut. The way I saw it is there was 1 less person dispatching, but more importantly, the overtime is way down. Emergency medical services, that's a contractual obligation, so you'll see that went up $3,000. Solid waste went up $10,000. That's contractual. There's going to be an increase. It's going to be through mid-year. And again, so that we're not short, we put a $10,000 buffer in there just in case. If you have a storm or some type of environmental factor that will increase the tonnage that's got to get picked up, we're going to have to pay for that. So there's contingency measures in place for these types of events. Accumulated leave compensation, the biggest cut of this budget, $75,000. Again, you had the foresight 2 years ago. We funded that trust fund properly, and I'll have Andrew just give you this line item right now because we had money on the annual financial statement that instead of putting it in the budget and then moving it out into the trust fund, we did that directly through the financial statement. Andrew?
Yes, what was done was 2018 appropriations, which would, a budget has a 2-year life cycle. So your 2018 budget was going to lapse to surplus. There was a reserve for certain salaries that rather than lapse it to surplus, we moved it into your reserve for accumulated absences. And as we sit at 12/31/2019, that reserve for accumulated absences at $481,000. So by moving the 80,000 at year end, we were able to reduce the appropriation from 100,000 down to 25,000.
But wouldn't it be good to still fund that accumulated leave since our payouts are usually six figures here and just keep on funding it?
Right, and at this point now, we're at the 481, and I believe we've done a bit of an analysis on the potential retirees. And at this point, we would be covering 3 of them. And we're funding another 25,000 with the, then the intention, then when we're gonna lapse the 2019 budget, rather than lapse any salary and wages to fund balance, we would then replenish this account with that intent.
So with everything said there, hopefully you can see how we were able to keep the police salary wages to the largest salary and largest line item in this budget other than food insurance stable. Your utilities, kept them all the same. We did have some money, so when there's an issue with the township committee that needs to do transfers in November, hopefully these are going to have some balances to do those transfers. That's where the money is. I have to be as transparent as I can to you as the committee. That's where we'll have some transfers if need be. Big numbers. $1 million of your $12 million budget goes to Social Security, $193,000. That is up. That's the contractual obligations that Councilwoman brought up. The public employee retirement system, that's an actual bill due April 1st to the state of New Jersey. It's up $9,000. And the police fire retirement system, believe it or not, first time in many a year here, it actually went down roughly $8,000. And that is because we had obviously some termination of some individuals who were on the pension system that expired last year. So that was a reduction. Okay, last year, we did underfund, and you saw the transfers in November because you asked me, how come we're transferring these large amounts basically into the BCUA or the storage? When we did the budget last year, we conservatively used the 4% increase. Turned out the actual number, I believe, was 7%. And these are big numbers. This is $600,000. So 7% on 600 was $42,000 that we were short. We still don't have the actual number as of today. So we are conservatively putting in, I think, 7%. And if we get the actual number before we adopt, it's up to the committee, you can reduce that. But I gotta give you the 7% now, so we know we have the funding in place. LoSAP's down 20,000, very easily explained. The individuals who are to qualify through the point system, basically more and more members are not meeting the point system, so they're not qualifying for LoSAP. Your grants are the grants. That's money you can spend. It's already been appropriated. Your recycling tonnage grant, your Clean Communities grant, Police Vest, Municipal Alliance, which is deals with the children, with different programs run by the police department as well. Those are all appropriated. Capital Improvement Fund, Andrew can speak a little bit about that. The Capital Improvement Fund is another large cut. And we went from 75,000 to 25. That's $50,000. It's at half a point. And I'll explain things shortly.
Sure. We have kind of spoken about a preliminary capital ordinance that we were going to do this year. The debt that was going to be included in that capital ordinance was approximately $500,000. Whenever you do a bond ordinance, you're required to do a 5% down payment of the debt that you're going to issue. So 5% of the 500 would be the 25,000. So we are appropriating what we would be required to include in a bond ordinance in 2020. In addition to that, in the general capital fund, you have approximately 117,000 already in reserve in the capital improvement fund in general capital. So that being said, we were able to reduce this appropriation and still cover what we would be required to have as a down payment in 2020 and keep the 117,000 intact in general capital.
If we put more money into the capital improvement fund, couldn't we avert constantly bonding for the smaller items like cars, technology equipment, etc.?
Yes, if more was appropriated and then included, then you could then bond less, absolutely. Thank you.
The debt service. Again, you're now seeing the fruits of what we did 2 years ago by doing that bond sale. You're now currently funding the bonds that were outstanding 5, 10 years ago. Your debt is up $25,000 for the principal. Again, historic lows. Again, to the committee, I applaud you for doing what we did 2 years ago. You're now seeing the fruit of what you did there with the General Sewer bond, the bond sale. Saving tons, a lot of money.
And just one other point with the debt, in the last few years, the committee has, the intention of the committee was to be paying down more debt than we were issuing. So in 2020, with the plan as is, we would be paying down 900,000 in your serial bonds, and then your new bond ordinance is only authorizing 500,000. So the amount of your principal outstanding is getting reduced. And that's in accordance with the plan the committee had a couple of years ago to, again, pay down more than we were issuing.
The bond, the municipal debt service is about 10% of our budget, is that correct? Approximately.
Let me see. So we have a $12,600,000 budget, and we're at $1.1 million. So 10% would be the debt. That would be correct. That would be correct. And with that said, right now we're using $96,000 as a tax point. And again, unfortunately, with the tax appeals, the actual tax base is down. It's down to now literally $9 billion or $96,000, a tax point. So we're hoping next year we can get some more of these ratables on the books. And that is really what's choking us out here. It is not the spending. Everyone at this dais here is always looking to cut. No one spends money, they're as tight as can be. That's the way to put it. So with that, we're doing everything we can. Like I said, get the development going. As your CFO to you, get the development going.
So as proposed right here, presented to us, what's the municipal?
The municipal tax increase with this preliminary budget is 0.
Thank you.
Is a portion of that 0 due to an increase in the tax base from the prior year?
Yes, the 2020 assessed value did increase by 6.3 million. So what that, obviously your tax rate is affected by 2 things, your tax levy and your total assessed value. Since your total assessed value went up, the first $63,000 of your tax levy increase this year resulted in a 0 effect on the taxpayer.
So the prior year we lost about $20 on the average house, and now we're gaining 22,
Approximately.
That's over.
Right.
But we had no increase in revenue ratables this year, right?
No, well, no, your tax levy,
The left.
I'm sorry.
the assessed value increased by 6.3 million.
But we also, on the dollar value, gave up $200,000 for the tax appeals. And that was what choked you out this year. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be up here, it would be a much better position.
In 2019, the refund of tax appeals was 203,000 direct hit to your fund balance.
Otherwise, that 200 would have been in your surplus. That's why it's down 100 this year in the budget itself.
Yes, essentially, we started in a hole.
You did. No fault of yours. No one.
Roy, what is our surplus right now?
That's-
2,778,000.
Where did the money for the Tyson House go?
That's sitting in a reserve from sale of assets in the general capital fund, intact, 600,000.
And that's for you to decide how you want to spend that as we go through the year. Or next year. It's not being used in the operating fund.
There was a resolution this year to refund donations of $16,000 of the proceeds. Is that going to come out of that fund?
That's right.
No, actually, what we did was we moved that to your trust fund. In your trust fund, you have a reserve for it's the Tyson House.
It's still the same.
So what we did is from the sale, we moved, it was approximately 16,000. We moved that to the reserve. And now any of those refunds from those donations can come right out of the trust fund. And the amount in the capital fund will remain intact.
So it's important for the public to know, any money that's going to be spent, it's got to go through resolution up here. It's not a bill comes in and we're just going to arbitrarily just pay it out of capital. It has to be done by resolution.
Any further questions? Roy or Andrew? Thank you guys for your presentation. I know,
Excuse me, if I can, if you don't mind, I know there's some questions pertaining to the issue that I brought up for the building department. While we have, both of our finance people here, let me just discuss any questions that you may have about
I
this.
do.
just wait, just for the public, it's resolution 2020-6061. The committee will move on with that.
I'd like to know why we just don't budget this as a line item. Why we have to take it out of this. First, it was written wrong. Bob wrote it up, but that's all right. We straightened it out. But building department last year brought in $329,000, which is double what it brought in 2018. So I just don't understand why we just can't line item it in the budget for that. Why do we have to take it out of this other account? It makes no sense to me. There was plenty of money made last year. And why don't we just make it a line item and pay for it?
This is a unforeseen change, correct?
This is the Mitchell Humphreys software system that you have no say except the funding, that the councilwoman is correct, but we do have to spend that money on the software upgrade, so that we can.
I don't have a problem with spending the money at all. The state is taking us offline.
I think it's a timing issue.
Right,
What
that's
if
all,
we
that
have to be
also
compliant?
parcel. We wanted to maintain and stay within the budget. So if we were to put that 20,000 into the budget, after we just got done saying the operating, with that we're reducing, that wouldn't match up with anything that we're doing with all the other departments. This is money that we do have, and it seems after our discussion, but between the three of us, it seemed like this would have been the best way of dealing with it. Plus the fact that we are under the gun to get this done, because the state is pulling all their software for what we use from us in a very short period of time. So that's, and unfortunately, even going through this process, we still have to wait to get the monies in place. I can't even sign a contract until the money is there. So that's why I'm just trying to expedite this so that we don't fall short with the building department and eventually we'll be turning over the paper because we don't have the system up and running.
I understand, but I just saw all this money that came in with the building department, and I can't understand why it can't be a line item in the building department, where it's coming from. That's my thought.
Why are we bonding for it?
We're not
We're
bonding.
not actually buying, we're taking the money though.
Why are we using this method to purchase this product rather than putting it into our operating expenses on a yearly basis?
Right.
So why can't we put that into our operating expense?
You can, but you're gonna need to find some more money in revenue to offset. that
Oh, so
$20,000.
that's it.
But the
Keep
money
that zero
is-
increase in the municipal budget. we're gonna take this out of surplus instead of putting it in a line item. Okay, Roy, I got it, thank you. I got it. Did everybody else get that?
So if it was put into operating expenses, it could be raised through taxes, right?
Yes.
So we could put $20,000 through on a tax increase.
Yes, you can. And that's, again, this is just intro to you as the township committee. You want to increase tax? Again, it's your prerogative to do. The money is sitting in capital in reserve. Because, again, you, the finance committee, wanted the zero, and that's how we were able to get to the zero. It's, the money is sitting in general capital. If that's the desire of the council to do, that's why Bob asked to have this funded ordinance with no debt being issued.
But like, every time somebody talks to me about their sidewalks or their trees being cut down, I'm told there's no money. There's no money. If there is money invested in this town to make it look better, what about a 0.5 percentage point? We took a hit on the rental income upstairs. $20,000 out of that. I never know anybody who gets a reduced rate in their rent, but we do it in town here. But trees, there's 80 emerald ash, 80 trees infested with the emerald ash borer. So what are we gonna do? Just wait for them to die and then take them down? Sidewalks. But you turn around, I hear there's no money. Well, can we invest in the town? People come in and talk about the roads, the curbs. Yes, we get DOT grants, but can we invest in the town? Maybe a 0.5 percentage point every year. This Ponzi scheme will collapse. You can't just keep 0, 0, 0. Yeah, oh, the ratables. I've been hearing ratables for 2 years now. We have to invest in our town. People say it looks like, you know, I'm not gonna say it, but I drive down Rochelle Ave and I wanna pull my hair out at the way it looks. Especially the section up front here. The sidewalks are all over, the trees are. Can we invest in our town? Would anybody mind if they got a 0.5 percentage point raise to their property taxes if we invested it in the town? That's all I have to say. The 0%, the Ponzi scheme one day will collapse. I don't know if any of you remember, it was a zero, 2015, it was like 5% increase. Then it was a 0 and a 0, and 2 years in a row, it was a little bit. Well, that little bit of tax increase helped out on the 0%. And it's all about you raised taxes, Linda. We didn't raise taxes. My taxes didn't go up over 500. Everything goes up in this world. And all I gotta say is, I don't think people would mind if they were paying a small percentage to invest in our town. Thank you.
Well, that's fine, but I take umbrage with the Ponzi scheme. I think that Andrew and Roy have done a great job, and I resent that comment.
That's okay, you can resent it.
Is this a fiscally responsible budget?
It's fiscally responsible.
Does it address the needs of the town?
That's your decision on the needs. That's something I can't answer. I will answer, the budget is definitely balanced. There's no structural deficit. If there was, I wouldn't sign it.
I'm not saying it's not balanced, and I have a lot of faith in Andrew and you, Roy, but what I'm saying was, with a small percentage increase, if we were to invest it back in the town, and that's where I'm talking about, invest it back in our town.
Look, we need to get through these few years until we get some more rate.
I've been hearing that for 2 years now.
Well, I know, I've been hearing it, this is my second year too. What's that? Well, when they come on, when we come on, we'll have more ratables, and we can do more. But right now, we gotta tighten the loose, that's it.
Are we utilizing the reserves that we collected in the past 2 years in this budget?
Only the accumulated yes. But that was something we all agreed to a couple of years ago. And that's for those 2 individuals retired, which
So past taxes that people paid is helping relieve this budget by $200,000.
it is, that's the accumulated leave.
Thank you.
And that was
and
done
every now
in,
and then
when,
we have to continue to
18?
do that.
And it is, it's gonna be contingent.
You're doing zero for, you're not setting any zero money aside for later. In the past, we were doing 75,000 for capital improvements, now you're dropping it to 25. Normally, we would probably have set aside another 25,000 for tax appeals, we didn't do that either.
I'm sorry?
In the past, we were going, increasing about 40,000, I believe, on tax appeals in the past, and now it's only up 15, so it's.
You know, the tax appeal reserve, we did, through the tax collections 2019, we transferred 150,000 into the reserve for tax appeals.
You
So,
don't see that in the budget, so you have to
so that, you, heading into, 2020, there is a reserve for tax appeals of 150,000. That would cover the first 150,000 of appeals. Last year, there was 130,000. That was eaten up through appeals.
Do we have an assessment, do we have a tax appeal over 10 now tonight?
There is a settlement resolution on the agenda tonight, correct?
How much is that?
That's going to be something in excess of 100,000.
There it goes. There it goes, right out the door.
And that's for property that they don't even own. It's Matt Cali getting it back. The property's now owned by Topher.
It's the
2016,
It's old.
2016, 17, you pay tax appeals from way back. It's mind-boggling.
So if members of the committee would like to make suggestions, let's make some suggestions before we introduce the budget. And then we'll assess the impact and where potentially we can get the money from. If we have to go to the taxpayers, then that's something that we'll discuss at that time. So, you know, I encourage you to make your suggestions and then we can follow up with a discussion.
Roy, you're gonna get back to us on the percentage for the sewer?
We don't have to.
When you get it?
So, let me get this right, so that I don't have to do these emails and phone calls. If the bill comes in, I'm gonna use percentages, 4%. We're gonna make it a 4% increase. Right now, it's at 7. Is that what the township committee is looking for us to do? It's a question, because right now
You
we have
said we
7.
had 4 last year, and you think it's gonna be 7. So if we
I
make
don't know
4,
what it's gonna be. We underfunded it last year. That was the transfers in November that there was a little bit of a uproar about.
I think by the time you want to introduce this budget, and we will know what that increase is going to be this year. We can then let the committee know on the effect on this preliminary budget, and then you could then enlighten us as to what changes you want us to make to the entire budget.
And it is a decent amount of money. So it is something we need to discuss when we get that actual bill.
We're non-contractual salaries increased in the budget,
No.
not like 2%.
2%. No,
Yeah.
2%. We did for 2? It's 2%.
it was a minor.
There was discussion about it, that's why I said no originally. There's 2% in there.
And with that 7%, this budget is balanced.
It's balanced.
Right. So if there's money that is not being spent in that line, it can be spent in some other projects that.
Yes,
potentially we
but
haven't done.
again, caution, because come November, we need some money for transfers. You see tonight, actually, you see a resolution tonight for appropriation reserve transfers. That was the final bills that came in from last year that we had the money to pay, that we're paying literally this week, if I may. Is there any questions on those appropriation reserves? Good. I call it operational, just so you know. Please call me if you have questions about transfers. But again, I call it operational. We don't have really a say on that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
No.
You want to talk about rent writer?
No, I don't think we really need to at this point in time.
All right. Committee Woman Artola and myself have met and we are working on a Safe Streets program to help identify and reduce speeding on some of our streets. We know how popular the slow down, Ocean Park wants you to slow down street signs were. So we worked with the chief of police and they were gracious enough to buy the first 100. If you would like a sign, you can come to the clerk's office, she'll have them. We have them right here. So you can come to the clerk's office and pick them up. The chief did a pretty good job of working with a couple of the officers to design those, and we thank him for that. On the 20th of this month, the chief also installed the digital speed sign on Lincoln Ave. You know that that's one of the problem streets that we have in regards to speeding. We'll collect data from there within the next 2 weeks, that is compared to averages, national averages, and then based on those data points, we can determine on how to best address speeding there and what deterrents to use. There's several other areas that we're looking to reduce speeding, and as we work through these, we'll keep you updated.
Is that the same program that Committee started last year, the Safe Street? Is it the same? That's the same program?
Committeeman Warren, what program did you do?
We started. I know you had the sign.
The New Jersey Street Smart
Yeah.
came in with work with the police department on, I guess, a program that would educate the public and drivers about speeding and the hazards of not paying attention to the road. And those slow down signs I did purchase with my own money to give out to people. That's just something to get the townspeople involved, so that's all.
And they're a great deterrent.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I'm
I
glad,
think we
I'm
should
glad that you're
seriously-
continuing it.
Oh, I'm
so,
sorry. I think we should seriously look into speed tables. I talked to a couple of the officers about it, and he said some people don't want them in front of their house. I said, I'll take one right in front of mine.
I have, just so you know, I have a report from Mike Kelly, and it lists several, probably about 20 or 30 different deterrents and the rate of speed it deters each one. And obviously speed bump drastically reduced, I think like 7 point something miles per hour, and then tabletops. There's all different ones, but that's why we're putting these signs up, because we can see the average speed over the speed limit, and then we can determine whether it's tabletop, whether it's, have you ever seen those octagon yellow flashing signs that say slow, slow,
Yep.
slow? So there's other things that we're looking at.
What I can, if I can, on just add on that, we did send all that data over to Mike, as well. So this way here, we can discuss this in the future.
And we're gonna try to switch that sign around, so it's facing, it's coming eastbound now. Oh, no, it's going north. We're gonna switch it, so it's the opposite.
If you don't mind, just let me just say one thing about the grant, just so you're aware of what's happening. I think last week we did discuss the fact that we had a telephone conversation with FEMA pertaining to the fire grants.
Yeah.
And one of the suggestions that they had come up with is trying to do a grant with a multi-jurisdictional grant. Looks like MoDOT is going to be on board with this. So I'll be put a little bit further on once I have a little bit more information. But I think that this is a much better way of trying to address, especially a small community like ourselves, trying to get the attention from the federal government for us to try to get some funding. So by going through having another town involved, I think that's going to be a major plus for us. So
And it'll be upgrade to radios, which is a major
what
expenditure.
we're looking to do is upgrade all the radios. So yes.
All right, thanks, Bob. All right, any questions up here on the Safe Streets? All right, we had a seat open on the planning board, and I'm going to make an appointment now. I'd like to appoint Alfonso Santiago, who's currently appointing an alternate on the zoning board, to the position on the planning board. So if you could please work with Anne Marie tomorrow. And then last week I sent the committee a volunteer application for Mr. Vacek Ubagian, expressing interest to serve on the zoning board. And I'd like to take the vote to memorialize it, put him in that open seat now as an alternate. So if you have a motion?
Just to clarify, Mr. Santiago is stepping down as alternate
Yes.
from the zoning board and moving over to the planning board as your appointment dictates, but and we're currently filling that vacancy.
Yeah, that term ends the end of this year.
Sure, I'll make a motion to appoint.
I have a second.
Mr. Badaki.
Oh, I'll second it. I've been working on Vacek for 2 years to get on the zoning board. How'd you get him, Nick?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Can you please let Emily know to contact us? I have a presentation. I hope I get a plaque.
You can donate money to that. It's all right, I don't need some.
No worries.
Hey, Mike, we like you to draw with the.
I was considering wearing them again, but I had to change my outfit, so one time is good enough.
So obviously, I think everyone knows Mr. Warren, and we're glad that he served, and we're happy to have him here tonight so we can present him this award. I can tell you personally, it's not easy. There's people that come to you with questions at all different times of the day, the weekend, the hours, to be up here. I know you take great pride in that. I think Michael did a great job. Thank you, Michael. The plaque says honoring Michael Warren, Township Committee, 2017 to 2019. With our sincere appreciation for your dedicated service to the citizens of Rochelle Park by the Rochelle Park Township Committee, February 26, 2020. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Just quickly, I know I've said this before, but it's been an honor to serve the community, and I'm still serving on the zoning board and the beautification committee. It's an honor to work for the people of Rochelle Park, and it's such an honor to be to get this award and be recognized in this capacity by the governing body. So thank you for that. I would like a picture with the mayor, but I also like a picture with the rest of the township committee, if that's okay. All right, great. Thank you. I'm gonna say, the next picture. No, it's fine. No, sure. No. Come on in. You want to come in? All right. Mr. Davidson? Liz, you want to come for a picture? I know. I know, too much. Come on in. Thank you guys for taking this picture with me. I really appreciate it. I know you're making faces behind me. I know they did. I know. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Gail, thank you very much. Mr. Lodge, I appreciate it, Mayor. Good luck with everything. Mr. Davidson. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's real. I try to do it. Thank you very much.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the public meeting held on January 29th, 2020, please?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. It's time for our 2019 annual health meeting report. The deputy clerk, please.
It is 9:04 p.m. According to the Open Public Meeting Act, this meeting has been posted and is being recorded. Roll call. Committeewoman Artola. Here. Committeewoman Boniface. Here. Committeeman Krasmir.
Here.
Committeeman Vachnik.
Here.
Mayor LaBasi.
Here.
Elizabeth Kroll.
Here.
For clerk.
Here.
I'd like to ask for a nomination for President of Board of Health.
I'll make that nomination, Mr. Bocci.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. May I have a motion to affirm Committeeman Vachnik, the Board of Health President? Wait, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to affirm Committeeman Vachnik to Board of Health President?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Committeewoman Artola.
Yes.
Committeewoman Boniface.
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir.
Yes.
Mayor Labasi.
Yes.
Elizabeth Kroll.
Yes.
Thank you. Does the president have any comments?
I look forward to working with you, Jennifer, and continuing, hopefully the Rochelle Park movies will come back.
I was gonna ask you that.
Oh, so.
What? What? We'll continue, we'll look for stuff. I have something for you.
Thanks. The activity report for 2019. Revenue from business licenses was $15,925. Business license issued 83. Flu vaccination administered was 16. Total births 1. Marriages 27. Deaths 144. Dog licenses 344. Cat licenses 28. The annual rabies clinic was held on January 26, 2019. Rabies vaccinated for dogs was 49. Vaccination for cats was 3. The blood pressure clinic was held every 4th Thursday of the month since in the senior center, and it will continue throughout 2020. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you. I hate speaking out loud. I want to be incognito.
All right, all of our reports, Health Department, Building Department, Municipal Court, Fire Department, Property Maintenance, Fire Prevention, Police Department are on file in the clerk's office. Should you have questions or concerns, please see Ms. Kroll.
I think Jennifer should really do the resolution because she did such a good job.
No.
All items listed when asked are
I'll do the
considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Township Committee and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a committee member or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda as part of the general orders. Resolutions 2020-59 through 2020-62 to 2020, no, wait a minute, 59, no, 59, 62 through 67, 69.
Include 61, because I didn't have the
left
list.
is 61.
I didn't have the list of the appropriations, but I found it in my paperwork.
76 and 77. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Before we pass it, can you just clarify for the public who's what? We're actually appointing stuff in here, not naming. The public might not know who are we, who's going to be on the redevelopment committee, who's the municipal planner going to be, who's the redevelopment planner going to be.
Higher rule.
Higher rule for both. Okay. And who's the redevelopment subcommittee going to be this year?
The same as last year.
The same positions as last year,
Yes.
which are the mayor and the liaisons to the building department.
Is that you?
And the attorney and the administrator.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are you speaking to the public? Because we can't hear most of anything you're saying. Are you discussing it among yourselves, or was that addressed to the public?
The question was on resolution 60, on 2020-63 and 2020-64.
He asked who the people were.
The appointment, yes, it's hiring rule, they're saying, did you hear that, or? It's hiring rule, and the establishing the redevelopment subcommittee is the same position, so it's the mayor, building department liaison, clerk, and the administrator, and the attorney. That was the question. Sorry, Nancy.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second? I'll second. Okay, Committeewoman Artola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bodnar?
Yes.
Mayor Labasi?
Yes.
Thank you.
My turn.
Yep.
All right, so, 2020-60 resolution authorizing the software for Mitchell Humphrey. So I know Committeewoman Boniface already spoke
Well, I
about that.
just talked about, I know this is needed. The state is changing their program. I just wanted to see the money go as a line item and not come out of this surplus because of all the money the building department made last year. But,
Moving on.
I'll make that motion.
All right, can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Let's do a roll call. I'm sorry.
Committeewoman Artola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBeouf?
Yes. Resolution number 2020-68, resolution introduction ordinance number 1156-20, revised housing element and fair share plan.
I just want to know, that's on tomorrow night's planning board. How are we introducing something when they still have to look at it? It's on their agenda for the planning board tomorrow night, and yet we're introducing it. Don't we have to get back their feedback first?
I spoke to the planner about it, this came from him. But you've already adopted this, the fair share plan and the revised housing element, but there was some minor changes to it that John, the planner, had suggested, so he's incorporated them into this revised ordinance. So the main substance of it's already been adopted. Of course, this is an introduction. If the planning board, if there's an issue or something has to be further discussed, we can always either change it before adoption if it's minor, or we could just reintroduce it if there's any. But I think there was some time sensitivity too, according to what John said. Mr. Barry.
Okay.
So we have a motion,
I'll make a motion to approve.
second,
I'll second.
roll call please.
Committeewoman Artola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBeouf?
Yes. We'll go in order. Resolution number 2020-70, a resolution introduction ordinance number 1158-20, capital ordinance software. Bob, do you want to just touch on this because it ties into that?
Yeah, that's a whole issue that we discussed previously with you.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call please.
Committeewoman Artola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBeouf?
Yes. Resolution number 2020-71, a resolution authorizing settlement of tax appeal for 120 West Passaic Street, LLC. I think that we have already discussed this and have a motion to approve.
Unfortunately, yes, I will do it.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBeouf?
Yes. Resolution number 2020-72, a resolution introduction ordinance number 1159-20, the pilot program. May I have a motion, please?
First, what pilot program are we introducing tonight?
This is the one that we're just introducing the ordinance for the one that we're
But-
discussing.
Yeah, we've been discussing it, but there's nothing written in stone, so how are we going to introduce something when you don't know what it is?
Well, the document which we received from Mr. Benke,
So-
I sent to everybody, that's
Correct.
the ordinance that's being introduced tonight. Attached to it was the financial plan, the financial analysis prepared by Mr. Benke, and the financial agreement that was all part of the same group.
But I thought we were to fairly negotiate a pilot. Are we just going with the numbers Mr. Bernacki gave us?
Well, correct, he was.
So we're not
as our
gonna-
consultant.
We didn't get
What,
feedback.
what
from that.
happened with the discussion we had the other day?
We didn't get feedback back from that.
Yeah,
I mean,
Well, you're doing it before we got feedback.
Okay, so there was, in accordance with your request, I did speak to Mr. Beneke about the possibility of changing the length of the pilot. And that had been an issue that had been fully discussed and negotiated, and it was just essentially not going to happen, in his opinion. And so the fallback position was to discuss with the developer an annual contribution to the beautification fund and the possible streetscape on West Passaic Street, and the developer did agree to that. So that's going to be something that will be in the pilot. There'll be a separate agreement which we'd enter in. We would enter into before the pilot's formally adopted and signed.
Did anybody on this dais contact the tax assessor to see what that property would assess at? Did anybody, like I did, but I'm just wondering, did anybody up here do it?
It was in Bob's report.
Yeah.
Mr. Benke said, I forget the number, but he said it when he was here at one of his presentations.
Well, we're talking about the property being assessed. You mean when it was built
If-
out?
if-
When it was
if
built
that-
or when it was?
No, if it were to be built at today's tax rate, what would the tax assessment on that, on the three developments, the three pieces of the pilot?
I think the answer that came as a result of the discussion was, it will not be built. It will not be.
I
built.
understand that,
So-
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I
To
think
me,
what-
it looks,
you know,
to
it's-
me,
it's-
it hurts the community. All I hear about is rateable, but
Yeah, I think it was 1.5 more.
it's just sad that we had to see.
1.2 and 1.5. So, do I have a motion to approve the introduction ordinance, the pilot program?
So,
Second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Committeewoman Martola? Yes. Committeewoman Boniface?
No,
Committeeman Casimir?
yes.
Committeeman Bonnet? Mayor LaBrus?
Yes.
Just on that ordinance, next month or next meeting, I'll make a comment as to why I'm supporting this. This will be prior to the discussion that's open to the public. This way, the public has, I guess, the reasoning why I'm supporting this program, and if they have questions that they would like to follow up.
When are you suggesting this at the work session?
I'm going to do this at the work session.
That's fine.
And this will just to address some of the concerns and why I think this is a correct move for the township at this point. And anyone can, at least they'll know where my mindset is. And then after the opportunity to speak, they can address their concerns or why they see it differently than what I see it out of this pilot.
Okay.
Is the pilot going to be on for discussion for the next work session?
can we release this pilot report to the public?
Yeah, well,
You know, we introduced
we could put it on for further discussion at the work session. It will be on for public hearing and adoption on the 25th. Mr. Beneke and Mr. Diggus will be here on the 25th. I didn't ask him about the 11th.
I don't think it's a discussion point. I think I'll do during my report, as part of the redevelopment subcommittee. If there's no objection by.
Can you go on the township website tomorrow sometime?
I think we should release all paperwork that's
now
related to
that the
this.
ordinance
Should
is
be on the website.
introduced, we can post it. We'll make sure that that's taken care of. Thank you. All right, resolution 2020-73, resolution introduction ordinance number 1160-20, amending chapter 185 of the development review. Joe, you want to?
This also came from the planner. I think there was some changes that were required by the fair housing litigation. Honestly, it came from the planner. I didn't realize it was on tonight until I got here tonight. It was something that was previously adopted, but it required a couple of modifications, so I don't know precisely. Yeah, he did say it needed to be introduced and adopted as quickly as possible. But you understand what development fees are. Developers have to pay into a fund, which in part offsets our obligations for affordable housing. It goes into our affordable housing fund. So it's kind of just a technical change in the previously adopted ordinance. Anything beyond that, we really have to speak to John, our planner, about it again. I suggest we adopt it. If you have questions, I'll pass them along to the planner.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make it.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes. Resolution number 2020-74, a resolution hearing and adoption ordinance number 1154-20 to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limit and to establish a cap. Thank you. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah. So we have to, this is open to the public, so I need a motion to open this to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Anyone have comments from the public? Hearing none, can I have a motion to close?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion.
Second, please.
I'll second
Roll call.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Here, yes.
Committeeman
I'm tired.
it. Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
No.
Mayor, no, okay, Mayor LaBrus?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2020-75, a resolution hearing and adoption ordinance 1155-20, amending chapter 27 of the code, personal policies. And I believe that this is in regards to the additional hours
Correct.
for new hires.
For new hires, non-contractual.
Can I have a motion open to the public, please?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any comment from the public? Hearing none, can I have a motion to close, please?
I'll make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Can I have a motion to adopt, please?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Artola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Bonface?
Yes.
Committeeman Casimir?
Yes.
Committeeman Bajnik?
Yes.
Mayor LaBrus?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolutions are complete.
Thank you. Mr. Davidson, you want to have anything in your report?
No, we covered everything throughout the various reports we had this evening. Thank you.
Okay, great. Committeewoman Artola, we'll start down by you. Your report, please.
Hello, everyone. Today's Ash Wednesday. I see a lot of people who are celebrating, so just wishing you a blessed Advent, Lent, and happy Easter coming up. Last night, we had the joint meeting with the Board of Education, so it was good to get to meet them and be with them. Look forward to getting to know them better and working with them. Within the past month, we had 2 ribbon cuttings for new businesses. One was for the Mexican restaurant, El Asadero. So great people, really good food, and the decor there, it looks beautiful. So I think I've been there about 5 times since they opened, so I'd like to encourage people to go visit them, and we wish them success. We also had another ribbon cutting for a new bridal shop on Route 17 by Starbucks and Longhorn called Brides by Young. And the owner is extremely nice person, and she's also a dress designer. And for the ribbon cutting, they dressed me in a wedding dress for the ribbon cutting. You saw the picture in the paper. It was a lot of fun. The staff had a fun time with that, as did I. So they also sell evening gowns. So if you have any events coming, please check them out too. We want to support their business. I have a wedding coming up. I think I'm going to go visit them and get a dress for that event. 2 weeks ago, we had the tabletop emergency exercise. So we had members from our emergency management, police, and fire, along with other people. It was an eye-opening experience. But after seeing all of our team in action, I'm confident that if we ever do have an emergency, that our team is prepared to protect the residents and the town. Last week, the American Legion had their Valentine's Day Meatball Massacre dinner. That was a fun time, and so it was good to support the Legion and all the fundraising efforts that they do. And last Saturday, I attended a seminar for budgeting for elected officials. It was great to have the opportunity to learn and to meet people from other towns throughout the state. During one portion of the seminar, they
covered the topic of pilots, and there was a lot of questions for that part of the session. So we're not the only town dealing with pilots. The presenter spoke about the pilot that took place in his community and how it has benefited the community. It was area in their town that hadn't been developed, and it is now, and they're very happy with it. So it was a good learning experience, and we're going to be having that coming up too. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Good evening. I look forward to being the health officer this year and seeing what initiatives I can bring to the town and continue the momentum that Committeeman Warren brought with some of his ideas and walking club. I came across the New Jersey Healthy Town designation, which recognizes communities where mayors have made healthy lifestyles a top priority and are actively engaging members of their community. They have a Healthy Towns designation, which is a great honor for towns, achieved through a process. You can apply and be recognized in different categories like a healthy town to watch, or a healthy town up and coming. There's a mayor's wellness.
Where do you see us?
In progress. But there's a mayor's wellness campaign toolkit that has different strategies that we can use to make it a healthier place to live and work. They have a program guide that you can pick through. And then in the guide, they actually offer regular updates or tools and strategies to promote healthy and active living, connection to local partners and volunteer networks to share best practices, information about grants and funding for programs, strategies and tools to promote our great work, and eligibility for up to 25 sustainable Jersey points. Probably them. You might not be aware of them, but Sustainable Jersey is a nonprofit organization that has all kinds of tools, training, and incentives for communities pursuing sustainable programs, and an opportunity to be designated and honored as Healthy Town. There's a Mayor's Wellness Campaign pledge that states, as mayor of my community, I pledge to work cooperatively with Mayor's Wellness Campaign to implement new programs which will promote active living and healthier lifestyles for the men, women, and children of our community. I am committed to evaluating and reporting the programs we implement in our community. It's an online pledge, so if you think we can go that way, I'll send you the link. I was reviewing some of the recent job postings that we had online, and I noticed that several of the applications direct the applicants to send their info directly to department heads. I kind of think that we believe we qualify as a covered employer under Equal Opportunities Act. And there's federal regulations that say we have to hold on to all applications, even people we didn't hire, for 1 year. And I think the state has a retention for 3 years. So I think the best practice should be that we centralize where people send their resumes.
Where the department heads are.
Yeah, I don't.
Not intentionally.
No, not intentionally, but if someone said they applied and they've I just think good people apply for that. I mean, I see other towns centralize it and say, send it to administrative centers, but.
We actually do anything goes through here, I keep and maintain in our files.
For any department?
And as long as most departments will send it up by us anyways. So the application comes through.
Well, I think what he's saying.
I'm saying to centralize it so that they come here first
Yeah,
and then go there.
yeah,
So can we change that on the website? So
that
make sure the department heads know that it comes to, I guess, the administrator.
Administration.
Yeah, just the central person.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
I'm continuing to keep my focus on the budget this year. Last year it got dragged out and we took it nearly to the edge of losing almost $700,000 of state aid we rely on. I'm glad we started discussions early so we avoid a repeat. I have some budget suggestions that are actually not that expensive, but I would like to continue to establish and maintain the reserves that we set aside before that we're actually utilizing now. Things that we had to save up for, like the tax appeal payments, terminal leaves, replacing police cars, and covering uncollected taxes. In recent years, we paid out significant tax appeals for commercial properties that changed ownerships. It exhausted our reserves that we built up over years. In 2018, our tax base lost $1.8 million alone, and in 2019, it was $5.7 million. So last year alone, $20 of the increase had nothing to do with the township spending. It wasn't our increased budget at all. It was simply losing taxable property. I would like to see recreation have its $1,000, 2.5% cut put back and actually increase it by another $10,000, which would only cost the average household $3.86. For coming discussions, I hope that we'll discuss how to use the Tyson House proceeds, if property maintenance hours should be increased, and the status of replacing the fire prevention inspectors, which I believe we're kind of down to 1. And I'm not sure we're going to get all the work done. I also look forward to the coming work session on the town streets and sidewalks. And the other budget item I suggested was, I believe there was a quote not too long ago from Boswell to do the ponding study. That was about $24,000 to do 12 or 13 locations. So that comes to $8.42 for an average household.
Did you want to touch on something?
Well, we can take a look at it. I mean, what I've done actually in the cabinet, I pretty much have put together. And that's where we came up with that $500,000 figure.
This is
coming from the capital improvement.
Yeah, but we talked about the ponding study before, because it's a study, you can't bond for that.
Okay, so you can't, so that has to.
It's a study, it's a report.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, I'd like to see it put in
That has
this.
actually gone through.
Yeah, because you can't bond for
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Just a couple of things. If you have an issue with your neighbor's house, please don't put pictures of your neighbor's house on social media. If there's a property maintenance issue, please call the building department. It is an extremely poor form to put a picture of your neighbor's house and have your neighbor discover that their house is being featured on Facebook or some other social media site. So please do not do that. And then also on the social media end, with this pilot that we introduced tonight, just be careful of misinformation that may be disseminated throughout the community. If they're posted on social media account, sometimes there are people that are purposely misleading you to achieve their own personal goals or purposes. So those are my two words of caution. And I think if we focus on what is being presented, also what is being shared on the township website, those are the pieces of information that we are using to make decisions up here on the future of our township. So that's the information that we have, and hopefully we can focus on using that information to make a decision and go forward with it. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending. We have bowling Sunday, April 19th from 5:30 to, from 3:30 to 5. Get there at 3 to sign up. 6 people per lane. You get a pizza and a pitcher of soda. Where else? Sunday afternoon. It's a great event. Email recreation@rochelleparknewjersey.gov to reserve your spot. Another thing is, we're going to do Rochelle Park Grooves, but this year it's going to be called Rochelle Park Grooves. So it's going to start Tuesday, April 7th through May 12th at 6 o'clock. Email the clerk to sign up starting March 2nd. The DPW, no snow is good for us. You heard unfortunately, sorry for the guys, but no overtime, and then salting. But everybody talks about revenue down. Well, a lot of times I do research when people come up and they'll talk about it, something, and I found this in the paperwork. And this is the settlement agreement with Allied Developers. I got it right here. In accordance with your request, I have reviewed the settlement agreement described above. For your reference, I have attached a copy of the settlement agreement together with a copy of the resolution of the zoning board and a copy of the resolution of the township committee, having both been adopted in 2013. The pertinent portion of the settlement agreement is paragraph 2 of the settlement terms, which provides as follows. As a condition of approvals, Allied will make a total of 3 8-second loops a turn, being a change of copy for a period of 8 seconds within a 64-second cycle. Available to the township as follows: 1 turn on each of the 2 sign faces the proposed Route 17 location, a total of 2 turns. 1 turn on either side of the 2 faces of the proposed Route 80 location. The face for Route 80 location per turn, the township's choice. The township will be able to use these turns first and foremost for any public service announcement. If that type of use for the 3 turns are not necessary, then the use shall be for any lawful purpose, including but not limited to advertising on behalf of the township, emergency notices, and for private advertisers as a monetary opportunity for the township. In the event the turns are sold but ultimately required for emergency use, the township will be given the opportunity to, on an emergency basis, use the turns for the said emergency purposes. My interpretation of the above clause and the terms that was in fact negotiated does allow the township to sell their turns to private advertisers. We need revenue in this town. It's now time, since 2013 this has been around, it's now time we rent those billboards. You can't tell me that they can't be rented when they're putting up billboard after billboard along our Atlantic City Expressway, also known as Route 17. So I'd like to see this done. I'd like to see us rent these billboards and make some revenue for improvements. Sidewalks, trees, the gazebo's falling apart. You know, invest in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee. For my report, the Rochelle Park Fire Department responded to 22 calls for the month of January. Members logged a total of 180 man-hours for the month. 120 of those were on actual calls. The owners of active Route 17 allowed the fire department to do drills in the 2 houses located on Lincoln that are slated to be demolished. The training was invaluable and helped the fire department stay sharp. Thank you to Acura, thank you to the volunteer firefighters for all that they do. I thought it important to publicly announce that our fire department currently has 2 firefighters that are on leave while they're deployed in the United States Air Force. Firefighter Vincent Eckert, Airman First Class, United States Air Force, is currently on deployment stationed in Texas. And firefighter Isael Beto, Airman First Class, United States Air Force, is currently on deployment stationed in Washington. So we appreciate their service to not only the town, but to the country. And I'd like to wish everyone a happy winter season. Please. Joe, well done. All right, so can I have a motion to open to the public, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Do we have any comments? Please step forward, state your name.
Oh, may
Sit, sure can.
Dennis Cruz, 60 Lexington Avenue. Last Wednesday, I went to the freeholders meeting and brought to their attention that the rink was in disarray, just laying idle. And 3 of the freeholders took interest. So they're gonna look into it and make sure that it's county property that they've
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry, it's county property and they're gonna look into it and try to repair it.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah,
If you don't mind.
Of course.
Or would you like to?
No, you can do it.
We were talking about it.
Well, quite honestly, we actually did a walk with the county parks director last year.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, right now, there's plans went out to the DEP because they are going to be making improvements. And that not only for the basketball area, but the tennis courts as well. So it's going to be, it looks like a real nice improvement. Matter of fact, I did see, and I have to call out to the county because I did see where they are passing a $500,000 bond and mentioned something about the Saddle River Park. But I don't know for sure if that's part of that particular project or not. But I can tell you, because we, like I said, we did see at least a drawing of what they're looking to do there. And so the bocce ball courts, I believe, is something What's the?
Pickleball.
Pickleball's gonna be there, plus the tennis, and they're also doing a nice area with the basketball as well.
Excellent.
So yes,
Yeah,
it was nice off.
few of them were clueless. They had no idea that it was there. So I actually showed them pictures and all, and they were like, wow.
Dennis, Freeholder Tom Sullivan did reach out to me to find out where this rink was.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great, great. The second issue is Lexington Avenue. I'm one being affected by the medical building and also, the commuters.
Parking.
Yeah, the parking. I don't think a 2-hour max on them is going to stop them because they've just bombarded the 4 houses in the middle of the block. And it's just getting to a point that even my neighbor, and I have a picture here.
Just so you know, we're working on this with the chief.
Okay.
And Bob can touch on it, but that's gonna be eliminated, the 2-hour parking. There's gonna be no parking between certain hours by permit only.
Okay.
We're just working on getting prices for the permits and how the process will go.
Okay. Because there was a dumpster that had to be put into the driveway of my neighbor, and he couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And I had to go out, move my car, and then he had to go around the block and back in the other way.
Yeah.
And they're there for 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah, we have it on the agenda tonight, and I took it off because we're waiting to get some pricing from the chief, but we're working on this.
And it's going to be extended hours, it's not gonna be just 2 hours.
Oh, excellent, excellent, yeah, because their office opens up at 9 o'clock.
Right.
And the 5-6 cars come, boom, and they walk right over to the
Right,
middle.
the whole argument here is that just to do it for 2 hours, and when everybody leaves, so let's say they follow the rules.
Right.
But now lunchtime comes and they all just park there. So we obviously need to have extended hours. So that's all part of the project that we're looking at.
Because they've done that before also, they've left and then come back and park and go right back to the office.
So it is
So-
definitely addressed.
But is he supposed to refer to someone's looking into because the building is violating their planning board approval? Allowing parking?
Well, no, it went, the judge looked at it to make sure that it was legit, and the chief is getting prices now for the actual permit ends.
No, I mean the enforcement, I mean the enforcement for parking from the building.
There is a part of the approval is that that property, they had to certify that their property had enough parking for both their employees and their customers, and that they would not be using on-street parking. And that is something that needs to be followed up with enforcement to make sure that this doesn't continue the way it is.
Bob, could you get that from Anne Marie?
Well,
All the resolutions.
It's really, I'll have to get that, it'll be a zoning issue.
Yeah, all the resolutions. so we can see.
This is their parking lot. Practically, no one parked there.
Empty.
And then I have a picture where all 7 cars are just like lined up. They just come and just park.
Dennis, you spend some money on that.
It wasn't much, you go to Costco and they enlarge them and all that, but it's just aggravating that I'm gonna have a generator put in, because, I work nights most of the time, I don't want my wife home if the power goes out or anything like that. Where are they gonna put the equipment? Where are they gonna, they park there for 10, 12 hours, and they won't move. I asked the one woman the one time I was putting a dumpster in, she goes, I'll move it this one time. And made a face and walked away.
She was doing you a favor.
Yeah, exactly, it's just a nuisance.
Mr. Cruz, can you submit those for the clerk? This way they're officially on record. We can get them back to you.
I have a disc I can give you.
This way, it can be circulated.
Bob, make sure you get that resolution. We want to make sure that because they wouldn't, I'm sure the planning and zoning wouldn't have signed off if they didn't have adequate parking. It would have made them certify that, so we can just so we have it when we go to them. If they have a problem with this process.
The street fills up before they fill the parking lot.
Yeah, well, that's what they're trying to do, is probably instructing their employees not to park there. So
Somebody's telling them to park there
so
because
they
they don't
have-
want them in the parking lot. And, it's either they have the ordinance that's telling them to park on their lot, and they're totally disregarding it.
Yeah.
The building is fully occupied.
Yeah, so we definitely can enforce that as well, so
Yes,
pull that.
I'm all over it. Because I quite honestly, this probably goes back to Haiti Publishing.
I know, but my point is if we pull the resolution and it states that they were given permission for this
Yes.
based on
I
parking
understand.
that's there, and we find that they're not parking there, it should be enforced. So whatever we need to do in addition to
Yes,
the permitting sign.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else, please?
I just want to take advantage of a few people in the audience to announce that the Boy Scouts are having their spaghetti fundraiser dinner on March 14th. And there's a 2 to 3:30 seating and a 4 to 5:30 seating. And you can contact myself, Mr. Quinn, or several of us. It's the biggest fundraiser for the boys, and we really, like I said, they really appreciate any support. And it's actually a very good dinner. It's all homemade sauce, meatballs homemade, none of it is bottled or anything. So I just wanted to mention.
Very
that.
good, I can attest.
Yes.
What date is that, Diane?
March 14th. And if you buy your tickets ahead, it's $10 for adults, $5 for children, and at the door it's 12 and 6. I just wanted to ask about the pilot. I know you mentioned earlier that you're going to be having a public meeting on the 25th. But if you are going to be passing a resolution before that, then it sounds like it's already a done deal. You know, like, even if it's just an introduction, if you have a lot of people that come to this meeting a month from now and show concerns, are you going to?
We're introducing it, we introduced it now, so it'll be made available to the public between now or tomorrow. Hopefully we get it on the site.
So the resolution is just to make it public?
Well, that's what the introduction does, is allows it to be public. And
Okay, I know your resolution says.
And then the 25th, we'll have some of our professionals here again. We've already had 2 meetings. We've met with the school board offline, so that'll be the.
My other question was about professional, Mr. Bernanke, there's a thing, when your resolutions extended his contract, is that overturned, or, I'm not trying to get into personnel, but I mean.
No, it's not personal.
It's a resolution.
Yeah, he was appointed last year to
Right.
perform the economic analysis. And technically, resolutions die at the end of each year. So upon reorganization last month, we didn't renew his appointment. So this just kind of cleans it up. Technically, it's required.
Is it for a full year, or is it just so
It's,
as needed?
right, it's for the year unless his services are no longer needed.
And are there other pilots that also at this time that might be considered with some of the other construction going on that he'll be looking into?
There's none right now. There's-
Okay, well, there's other
I
things.
mean, it's possible, but there's nothing
I didn't know if
before
that
us.
was thought about. And just, when you were talking about the parking problem, and I realized this gentleman, you know, he has a problem, but just as a reminder, we've talked about many times, and it's happened at the parking committee, we talked about, as soon as you do one street, the people then move to the next street, and even if you do 2 streets, they'll go to the next street. So also, I would say to consider, I might not help his problem, but the 7 to 9 a.m. no parking, if you made that townwide, it would help a lot of places. All the people that have concerns with commuter parking, they wouldn't have the problem up and down all the streets that are off the Sage Street. I know they used to bring up concerns with people that were taking the bus into the city. They would park there. And I know one street, when they put up a sign, and Linda knows at our meetings, they put this up, the people just park on the next street. Forest, you have all the people, they're parked 2/3 of the way down Forest now. It's all the teachers from Sage Day. Why they don't park in the parking lot? Because they don't want to walk to the other side of the block, I don't know. But they are now blocking part of the streets. They park where there's a yellow curb. I mean, it's, you know, it's just, if it was 7 to 9, you would alleviate that. And the same thing, people on Peak and the few streets over from Peak, they also would not have the commuter parking. So if it was a townwide thing, it may not alleviate everybody's problem, but it certainly would help all around town. So it's just something for you to think about. You know, instead of each street residents coming up and saying, I have a concern. And then the next street comes up and says, they have a concern. You can help a lot of it by making this townwide. Just something to think about.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? Can I have a motion to close the public, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Pleasure meeting you.